Townsfolk heard about the birth and started to say that a witch had been born in the cave next to the magic well. Mother and daughter lived in this cave for 2 years until eventually the Abbot of Beverley heard the rumours and intervened. The mother, Agatha, still would not reveal the father's identity and volunteered to spend the rest of her days in a convent in Nottinghamshire. The father was never traced. The abbot found a sympathetic family in Knaresborough to provide a home for the young Ursula. As she grew into a young woman, it was clear she was very different. Her spine was twisted, her shoulders hunched, and she was unable to walk without the aid of a stick. Her facial features fared little better. The earliest recorded description was that her nose and chin were so hooked and so prominent that they nearly touched like a pair of nutcrackers. The statue of Mother Shipton at the back of the cave is based on those early descriptions. Because of her appearance, she was constantly taunted by townsfolk who thought she was a witch. For peace and quiet, daily, she would walk in the deserted King's Forest, picking the many wild herbs and flowers that still grow in this area, and to visit and spend time at her birthplace in and around this cave. As a young woman, she quickly realized she had a gift. She could predict the future. Nowadays, she would be classed as a psychic. She predicted small local events at first, but she developed her powers almost as quickly as her reputation spread. People travelled miles to visit her here in the cave and ask her what the future held for them. Bearing in mind that in those days there were no proper roads, telephones or postal services, and this was a time when London was a week's journey away from Knaresborough. It showed how famous she had become when her reputation eventually reached the royal palace. Henry VIII heard stories of the hag in Yorkshire who could see into the future. 3 members of the King's staff were dispatched to Yorkshire, disguised as peasant travellers, to seek out Mother Shipton, find out if she really could see into the future, and report back. Mother Shipton, of course, was expecting them and knew exactly who they were and why they had come. They returned to the royal palace with many prophecies and predictions. She forewarned the king of the Spanish Armada, named Sir Walter Raleigh, Sir Francis Drake, and the discovery of the potato, the Great Plague and the Fire of London. She even predicted her visitors' deaths, saying that she could see their heads above the pavements of York. As we now know, it all came true. Even her 3 visitors, all eventually tried and executed for treason at York, and as was the tradition, their heads were placed on wooden stakes above the pavements. The famous historian Samuel Pepys grimly recorded in his equally famous diaries during the Fire of London that Mother Shipton's prophecy had come true. Can you imagine what people thought of her in the early 1500s when she made these legendary prophecies?
Iron will float on water as easy as a wooden boat. Thoughts will travel around the world in the twinkling of an eye. Carriages without horses shall go, and accidents fill the world with woe. Men shall talk and walk under water. Men shall be seen in the air.
Many of her prophecies took centuries to come true. Many are still not understood and are still waiting to become reality. At the age of 24, she married a local carpenter, Tobias Shipton. Because of her appearance, local people said he must have been under the influence of one of her love potions or spells. He died 2 years later, and again, local people blamed Ursula. As she grew old, even though she never had children, she became known as Mother and later Old Mother Shipton. This was a commonly used mark of respect for an old woman in those days. There are many recordings in English history of different women being called Mother or Old Mother. a bit like old Mother Riley and Mother Hubbard. She died aged 73 in 1561, not long after the start of the reign of Elizabeth I. She, of course, predicted her own death to the day. No one knows where she is buried, although there are a few theories. All that is known is that she was denied a church burial, which is hardly surprising. The most popular theory is that she was buried by friends in a secret ceremony, in an unmarked grave so that it couldn't be desecrated, somewhere in the king's forest that she loved and spent so much time in, near to where she was born. This will go some way to explaining the many sightings of her ghost, and some of the strange goings-on that has attracted paranormal investigators to spend the night down here. It seems the cave's resident bats still have some company. In the 1600s, she became a household name with many pubs named after her, puppet shows and fortune tellers using her name and image, even her own brand of soap. She is also officially England's first pantomime dame. Probably the most legendary of all her prophecies is regarding the end of the world.
When thrice the high bridge falls, the world shall end.
This was a local prophecy. The High Bridge is the bridge by the main entrance to the park, along which the A59 Harrogate Road crosses. I'm afraid it's collapsed twice already. The first two were made of wood, but the third, and our final bridge, was built of stone in 1600. Although the bridge was no wider than a single cart, no one dared demolish it to build another. Instead, it was widened and strengthened many times to look as it does today. So seriously is this taken locally that when they built an inn across the other side of the bridge in Victorian times, they named it after Mother Shipton's most famous prophecy, the world's end. You can still see it today, standing overlooking the bridge and waiting patiently to fulfill its name. This is why we ask for your help. If you walk over the bridge today, as I'm sure many of you will, please give it a good look over. If you see any cracks or loose pieces of masonry, be sure to report it at the main gate. Mother Shipton's prophecies were recorded in old verse and rhyme, and are far too many to pass on here. If you wish to read her prophecies further, and also about her infamous confrontation with Cardinal Thomas Wolsey that almost cost her her life, then the prophecy book, first printed in 1641, is a quality memento of your visit and is available in the museum gift shop and at the main entrance. Before you leave this place, be sure to make a wish in the wishing well of good fortune. Wishes have been made at the back of the petrifying well for hundreds of years. Many visitors come back regularly just to make a wish and swear that they come true. Just make sure you follow the instructions on the sign. Please be careful. The wishing well is a natural rock formation and is quite low. You'll need to bend down to place your hand in the water, but remember to stay bent down when you step back. Because if you bang your head on that piece of rock, you'll wish you hadn't. Thank you for visiting Mother Shipton's cave. I hope you have found your visit interesting and enjoyable.
That does make sense though.
Are my hands all dry now? Yeah. Is your hand dry?
Yeah.
You salmon there. There's
Well, no, they'll do it in the hobby, won't they?
a tree there. Little fruit.
This is really cool. Hello. Fisher. There's always initials. So we just carved initials into a tree.
I was thinking that one. That's an angel.
Look at the tree, that tree's smaller from somewhere, God.
And that's not the yellow. That's smaller than this one.
Whoa. Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna do it and try.